Thank you, Madam President. In regard to all three of these, I'm mostly more familiar with the emotional support animals instead of the service animals. But I have had experience with children having a fear of certain animals or not being familiar, say that they've never had a dog in their home. Will this also, Dr. Cortez, be also handled on a case-by-case basis if a parent comes forward and expresses that concern? Cortez.
Madam President, members of the board, Trustee, Cavazos, thank you. Absolutely, yes, that is again a case-by-case basis outlined, and we will handle each unique situation as it arises appropriately.
Okay, I was pretty sure that was the case, but it was a constituent question. I wanted to address it. Thank you.
Trustee Guzman. Thank you, President Garcia Morales. I have been bombarded with questions about these, specifically the school-wide therapy dogs and the emotional support animals. But in particular, before I start on that, I want to ask my own question. So the service animals, will this also be allowed for children with autism that also have service animals?
Madam President, members of the board, Trustee Guzman, all service animals will be handled accordingly if they're identified as a service animal, and we'll go through the IEP process in Section 504 to address any concerns.
Okay, great. And then with the emotional support and the school-wide therapy dogs, sometimes the special area teachers are not included when doing IEPs and 504 plans. Will they be asked about the school-wide therapy dogs and the emotional support dogs?
Madam President, members of the board, Trustee Guzman, another great question. So in the guidance, it outlines the protocols and provides examples of communication to inform the staff of an animal, and that will be handled on a case-by-case basis within our situation.
One last question has to do with the with maintaining the service animal. Will there be a section of the school where the service animal will be able to relieve themselves?
Madam President, members of the board, Trustee Guzman, that is again outlined in the guidance, but clearly that is a requirement that there has to be a designated area that is identified through the implementation plan for those needs.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. Trustee Sparsa-Strothagen.
Thank you. So the public is not always privy to some of the briefings that we receive. So a lot of our questions were asked and thereafter. But I guess I would like you to provide maybe what is the process of you developing this, because it's taken some time, which is a lot of work. What guidelines did you use maybe to help us to formulate this? And then I have a part 2 to that so that they have that context.
Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, Deputy Gutierrez, Trustee Esparza-Strothagen, that is a fantastic question. Clark County School District is behind in addressing this federal requirement for service animals, but also providing support and guidance for our school administrators as well as our students. This is a process that's been occurring probably, I would say, about 2 years. Jumping this around about that anything. It is a process that has had many reiterations of reviewing not only the laws federally as well as NRS. We have NRS 57 and 426 that helped guide what types of animals we considered under emotional support, as well as meeting with the different stakeholders and getting their involvement and their perspectives. We've had animals in our schools for some time, and that also has helped us in drafting what best practices are, as well as principals who have therapy dogs on site or have had experience working with dogs on the campus in the service animal or emotional support role.
Go ahead, Trustee Sparsa-Strothagen.
The second part is, and I think you alluded to it earlier, but what could potentially, if this does get passed, and you referenced a guidance document to come, what is the timeline for families and staff to have awareness prior to an animal being on count?
Dr. Cortez?
Madam President, members of the board, Deputy Superintendent Gutierrez, our request is within 24 hours that we meet with the individual when they present. Then it's a reasonable time frame of informing the individual in that process. It is outlined. It is, I believe, coming to the board again, if approved, for that review, May 16th. So that would be the end of the year. So these would be reviewed for the summer and moved forward at that time. So we handle it as reasonably and as swiftly as possible. It is through the process, through the IEP or 504.
Thank you, Trustee Carson, stop again. And thank you for that reminder, Dr. Cortez, that this is a notice of intent. This will be posted on our website for 30 days. And then is brought back again to the board for final. Trustee Galassos. Trustee Galassos, would you mind if I go to Trustee Satori first? Thank you, Trustee Satori.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. I have a question related to any injuries sustained from a service animal to CSG or staff member. Would that be, I'm assuming, the responsibility or the liability of the handler, person? And then also, then what is the school's responsibility for conducting the investigation of what occurred?
Thank you, Trustee Satori. Dr. Cortez.
Madam President, with your permission, I'd like to hand that off to Ms. Randolph.
Yes, please, Ms. Randolph.
Sammy Randolph for the record, Madam President, members of the board, and Deputy Superintendent Gutierrez. Nevada statutes where service animals are addressed, there are additional provisions that note liability for injury is with the owner of the animal, right? And so we would comply with that in terms of, yes, we would assist you with any investigation needed, but the liability is with the handler and the owner as it relates to the service animals, emotional support animals. In terms of the school-wide therapy dogs, part of the research and coming to this conclusion in terms of what to include in the proposed regulation, we added that the school-wide therapy dog and the handler must carry liability insurance for that very reason, to provide some coverage in the event there is an incident on campus. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Galassos.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm sorry, Ms. Randolph and Dr. Cortez, I forgot this one. I'm so busy answering the constituents' questions, I forgot my question. Now, you mentioned here that with all three categories, the service animals, the emotional support animals, and also the school-wide therapy dogs, that, well, actually, I think would just be for the first chair, not this third one, but you can let me know if I'm correct on that. On the medical documentation for the service animals and the emotional support animals, will we have a consistent standard of care or standard documentation as far as the medical professionals, should we say licensure or ability to provide that medical documentation, so that we don't have, say, something happened over here at this school saying, well, I have this paper, and another school saying, well, I have this one. And so I just was wondering what kind of consistency and how we're going to enforce that.
Dr. Cortez.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Gutierrez, Trustee, sorry, Vaza. And that is a great question. When it is about service animals and they are identified as service animals, there's not medical documentation that is required. That is a very distinct difference between an emotional support animal. When an animal is identified as an emotional support animal, part of that process for consideration is a medical documentation, and we have examples. When the team is considering that medical documentation, it does need to be relevant to what the need of the animal is for. Therefore, the doctor prescribing or recommending that emotional support animal must be a doctor of that area of need.
So, thank you, and for making that distinction between the service animal and the emotional support animal. So there will be some consistency throughout the entire district for that.
Madam President, members of the board, trustee Cavazos. It is a case-by-case basis, but I'll let Ms. Randolph add more.
Sammy Randolph for the record, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Deputy Superintendent Goodyear. Trustee Cavazos. When it comes to the emotional support animals and the medical documentation, when the Section 504 or IEP team meets, they're part of the documentation that's being reviewed is specific to the student and the disability. So when a provider is prescribing a dog to help with whatever condition, it's got to be the disability for which that's being addressed in the student's Section 504 plan or IEP. So there's got to be some correlation. And that's part of the discussion that happens during a 504 team meeting or an IEP meeting that involves the 504.
Thank you both so much for your elaboration and for your patience. I'm gonna have to drop in and see Dr. Cortez more often so she remembers. Thank you.
Trustee Watson?
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to confirm that there will be a notification or somewhere, sign or something posted for the school that they're allowed to be therapy dog or emotional support or whatever category they fit in, that the community works. Those coming into the school will be aware of these support animals.
Dr. Cortez?
Madam President, members of the board, Deputy Superintendent Gutierrez, Trustee Watson, yes, part of the guidance document does outline communication to not only the parents, guardian, student, staff, but also the community. Very good question.
All right, colleagues, at this time, I'm taking a motion. Trustee Guzman?
Thank you, President Garcia Morales. I move that we approve 3.02 for the service animal dogs, 3.03 emotional support, and 3.02 the school-wide therapy dog.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. Right, so I have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, 3.04, sorry. 3.04 the school-wide therapy dogs. Let me redo that motion one more time, please. Thank you. I'm gonna read from my agenda. I would like to move that we approve the notice of intent for the Clark County School District Regulation 2500, the notice of intent for the Clark County School District Regulation 2500.1, and the notice of intent Clark County School District Regulation 25.2.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman. Trustee Guzman to Adam.
I second that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Guzman to Adam. Colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Guzman, a second by Trustee Guzman to Adam. Please cast your vote. Trustee William?
Aye.
Thank you. Colleagues, thank you. That motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Ms. Randolph. Thank you, Dr. Cortez. Move on to item 3.06, notice of intent. Okay, notice of intent. CCSD regulation 2130. This is an action item. Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, I missed that. 3.05. Mr. Gowdy, you are the point of contact. Welcome. Audience, this is an action item, so if you have a public comment to submit on this item, please do so now before the presentation begins. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started, Mr. Gowdy.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Deputy Superintendent Gutierrez, Jason Gowdy for the record. This is the notice of intent for Clark County School District Regulation 7310. This relates to our safety advisory team. To be clear, this is more workplace safety, not the external safety that's handled by different groups such as entry and things of that nature. So I'll just summarize some of the major changes in it. In Roman letter I, we're just changing the name of it to the District Safety Advisory Team. Down in Roman numeral II, we define the fact that the risk management administrator essentially becomes the administrator for the safety administrator overall. Down in Roman numeral III, B, we eliminated the division region safety advisory committee. We used to have 3 levels. The middle level was redundant. And so we've essentially eliminated that group. The next area, most of everything else that's going through that is really just cleaning it up for new processes all the way down until you get to Roman numeral 4B1, where we talk about site safety committees. And what we've allowed there is that the school organizational team could act or may act as the site safety committee for the school if chosen. And then again, everything else is fairly related to cleanup. And down at the bottom, we clearly denote that the emergency management department supervises the district's emergency operations centers, as that has changed since we originally developed. And with that, I will open up to any questions on this regulation.
Thank you, Mr. Gowdy. How many questions do we have? Forgive me, I'm gonna go into public comment. And I do not have public comment on this item. Now I can ask colleagues, are there any questions this time? Otherwise, I'll entertain the motion. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
I do not have a question, Madam President, but I'd like to make a motion. Go ahead, Randy. Notice of intent, Clark County School District Regulation 7310, I move to approve.
Thank you, Trustee Bustamante Adams. Trustee Zamora.
Madam President, I'd like to second that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Zamora. Colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Bustamante Adams, the second by Trustee Zamora. Please cast your vote. Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Thank you. Colleagues, that motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. Now we are going to move on to item 3.06. This is an action item. If members of the audience would like to speak on this item, please submit your yellow card. Now, before we begin public comment. Gabby, you're also the point of contact for this item. Please take it away.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, Deputy Superintendent Gutierrez, Jason Gowdy for the record. This is the notice of intent for District Regulation 2130. This will be very brief. On page 20 of the document, or page 21 of 29 in board docs, it is Roman numeral XXVJ. And this is simply adding the ability for the school, the SOT, to act as the school's site safety committee in accordance with Regulation 7310, which we just went through. And that's all I have. Open up to any questions.
Thank you. We do not have a comment on this particular item. However, I'm ready to entertain discussion on our motion. Trustee Bustamante Adams.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move for approval to approve the note of intent, Clark County School District Regulation 2130.
Thank you, Trustee Bustamante Adams. Trustee Cavazos.
Madam President, I would like to second that motion.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. Colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Bustamante Adams, second by Trustee Cavazos. Please cast your vote. Trustee Williams.
Aye.
Thank you, colleagues. That motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Gowdy. Okay, colleagues, we're entering the part of the agenda where we have a public comment on items not listed as action items on the agenda. I would like to right, this is the action, public comment, and so we will take any yellow cards here. Otherwise, once we get public comment, we'll no longer accept yellow cards. We're going to begin with Mr. Rick Harris. Come on up, please. followed by Bethany Sholin, Mark Mabua, and Walter Jones III.
Wants me to go first. We just wanted to come down, as president of Nevada Association of School Boards and review one of your public meetings, where our initiative for NASB is to go across the state of Nevada and go to every school board in the state of Nevada, at least one of them. I think we've got 4 or 5 already, and this is the 5th one or something like that, so we're making a little bit of progress. But we wanted to come down and we wanted to ask this body, what can NASB do for you? How can we help Park County School District? I know most of you, all of you, and I've had relationships with you in this organization, and I appreciate it. So you know what NASB does. What kind of professional development do you need here? What can we do to help you as school board members perform your function as a school board member? It's a tough goal. We know that. We have 100, I believe it's 107 now, 107 school board members across the state of Nevada. And we would like to help every one of them perform their jobs, their duties as school board members. So that is our function here today. And we just wanted to come down and publicly ask you what you need from NASB and how we can help you be better school board members and perform your duties. That's what we're here for. And with that, I'll turn it over to Rick, our executive director.
Wade, would you mind stating your name into the record, please?
Sure. Wade Polson, and I'm the Nevada Association School Board president.
Rick Harris, Executive Director of Nevada Association School Board. Just want to echo what Mr. Polson said, and so happy to see you here in the meeting today. And if you don't want to speak right now, you know you can always reach me by email or phone and give me input. But we just wanted to reach out in another way that we're here to help and support you, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your time and your willingness to come through to our meeting in person. We certainly will provide additional insight to you directly via email, if that's okay. Colleagues, if you need either of these gentlemen's email, Joe Caruso can help us out with that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Is Bethany present? Followed by Mark, Nicola, and then Walter Jones III.
Thank you for your time. I am just here to expose and advocate on behalf of the children at Jim Gregory Middle School, and I'm sure other schools as well. It's recently come to my knowledge of the institute, the atrocities these students are subjected to each and every day. Not only was my daughter held captive in her classroom after school and forced to look at pornographic material by her teacher, she has been assaulted 3 times, and yet not a single paper trail of anything. I was never contacted. I've never heard of one site until I saw the videos myself. I saw the proof of cyberbullying and also the proof of sharing sexually explicit images at school of minor children. I reported it. Guess what I was told? Not their concerns. I went higher, and then the principal unenrolled my daughter against my wishes. I told her specifically, do not mess with my daughter. I'll come back and enroll her. She enrolled her all by herself. I went to Superintendent Walker, and guess what he did? He told me that he knows that school better than I do, and he knows my daughter better than I do. So he enrolled her back into an environment that she will be killed at if she steps foot on that school ground again. I made that very clear to him. And what he told me, I don't care. I'm going to enroll her again. And if she doesn't go to her classes, I will come after you. I got threatened. I've been gaslighted. My daughter's been traumatized by the violence that every day is in the bathroom. She can't go to the bathroom without thinking she's gonna get her head bashed into the wall because she opened the door at the wrong time. She was gonna drink water and someone smacked her upside the head
and now she suffers chronic migraines. You know, it's absolutely ridiculous, and all because the magnet kids bring in the ratings. They bring in the numbers. The principal, Mr. Walker, everyone is worried about my daughter's grades because she's a straight A student, but no one is worried about her safety. All the other parents I've talked to in the magnet program know nothing about these fights. They were sold the same lie to me about them being two different schools, and yet they're not. These kids are being abused and traumatized every single day. For what? Ratings? A 3-star rating, whatever it is, or what? The funding. So I'm here to expose it. I want it on the records what is going on. I will send you all a lovely email of all the proof I have. But it's ridiculous. And the fact that parents' rights are being violated and we are not allowed to have informed consent. And our children's constitutional right for a safe education is being spit on and covered up by the school police and the school. Thank you.
Is Mark second? Mark, followed by Walter Jones III and Christine Rich.
Good evening, trustees and Dr. Deputy Superintendent Gutierrez. My name is Mark Nicoba, and I was a teacher and coach in CCSD for 33 years. In that time, I received 33 years of good evaluations, never was disciplined, never been arrested, and retired with over 250 sick days left on my record. So I did a pretty good job and showed up for work every day. In addition, I was named the 2003 Southeast Region Teacher of the Year. I was a 2020 Heart of Education Award winner, and I was also named the Nevada Music Teacher of the Year. I mention this because I decided to go back to teaching and applied to CCSD, but was denied employment. So despite 33 years of good evals and being deemed a pretty good teacher, I was told that I could not teach for CCSD. I had principals and even associate superintendents trying to get me hired, but was told that this was an HR decision and nobody could overrule them. I know for a fact that there are hundreds of former teachers who have likewise been denied employment. We are in a crisis with a severe shortage of teachers, have part of the answer in front of us, but are neglecting to hire teachers who serve this district and this community faithfully for many years. I was additionally told that since I was denied employment, that I could not be employed in any capacity within CCSD. So I could not sub, I could not be an office clerk, could not be a custodian, nothing. We have many outstanding teachers that live in our city and wish to serve the community again. We need strong leadership that will step up and make decisions that best serve our students. And that would include hiring more licensed teachers, including retired teachers. Here is what great leadership looks like. 2 days ago on Tuesday, I was visiting Tomiyasu Elementary School in District G, and I asked to speak to the principal, Miss Muraku. Sorry if I missed her name. And I was told she was in a classroom. So I figured she was talking to a teacher or just taking care of business. I said, well, can I wait here and talk to her, when she gets back? And I was told, no, she's teaching. And in fact, she teaches that room every day because we're short teachers. And then the office staff proceeded to tell me, and she decorates the office, beautiful office. She picks up trash and helps custodians when she has to, when she sees things and wants to help out. But the fact that one of our principals is, full-time teaching in a 5th grade classroom, should be a wake-up call to all of us to buckle down and hire more teachers. We have these retired teachers like myself that want to come back, that have a record of doing well by our district. And so I would urge you to take the steps to hire those people. Thank you so much.
Walton, then followed by Christiane and then Madeline.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chairman Walter Jones, Vice President, National Network. What I'm having a problem with right now, you guys are still doing decisions behind closed doors without the public's information. We got the interim superintendent. I don't think she should be promoting anyone until either she's hired full-time, even with the trustees. You got 9 months before it's the new board. Whoever is still here will get reelected. Well, we're doing things again behind closed doors. It's the public school. The public needs to know what's going on for taxpayers, but we don't. When we come to these meetings, you guys come up here and things you already agree on behind closed doors. Then you want to make the public think that they're involved. You guys are sitting here at the meeting, yeah, you got to listen to us for 2, 3, 4 hours, whatever. But it's not effective because the same thing is still going on. We don't have enough teachers, but you guys want to hire upper management. You gave the teachers a raise, but they're still 5 years behind the national average. The national average is 62,000. We just got a raise to 50,000. Like I said before, I'm a business owner, been in business for 28 years. If I'm ranked 48th in my business, if my president come in and tell me, well, we're the 48th, we're the 5th largest contractor, but we're the 48th worst. He had to go. You guys are constantly doing the same thing over and over again. Give these teachers money. These kids are our future. We pay more money to incarcerate someone than we do to educate. You guys need to think about this every single day. Because one day these kids going to have to sit up here and they got to live with the decision that you guys have made that's hurting the valley. We can't get companies to come move here because of our education. But we'll run up here and spend all these millions and millions of dollars on things that we don't need. So let's reinvest back in our kids. I graduated from here with Dr. Perkins, went off to school to Prairie View A&M. Dr. Perkins was a great superintendent. But then you guys don't even engage in your community. Go to your schools, encourage your principals, encourage the kids not to take pictures, but to let them know you're concerned about them. Thank you, guys.
Christina, Oliver Madeline.
Time again in the topic of sex education, we have a lot of books that are considered perversively vulgar in our shelves. And I'm here for 6 months asking to be removed. We follow all the rules, we completed forms, they were returned, they said they should keep there. And we don't understand why, because even educators can't understand why. When we visit Valley High School, the secretary of the principal said, I go in the library, I don't know why you have those books, like gender queer, it's literally graphic content. And I cannot read here, you guys are gonna cite me the NRS, obscenity laws, I know, but you guys have power to do something and remove, this book is being removed across the nation. And we just don't understand why sexualize their minds? You're raping their minds. Children are supposed to be children. And with our tax money, you guys are buying these books and you're approving. All of you are approving. You know what Joy wants for liberty? Because I was assaulted when I was a kid. I was molested and the groomer showed me pornographic to let me ready. That's how they do. Groomers, they're sexualized first, and you guys are doing this to your kids. Doing this to let them excited to have sex. All of you, don't look me with this face. It's your job to protect your children. It's your job. All of you women, don't you care about little girls being raped? There's too many in this part right now. If you don't this book tonight, you don't care about our kids. Remove this book tonight. Or a partner. Because only partner wants these kinds of things.
Madeline?
I'd like to read from a book that is on the shelves in the libraries. Our school libraries. There was so excitement running through my body. This was so much more than losing my virginity. For once, I was consenting to this satisfaction of my body.
Forgive me, Madeline, allow me just one moment. I accidentally turned off your microphone.
Yeah,
Can you turn it back on? No, thank you, we will pause that. Thank you for notice. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. Thank you, I appreciate help.
Okay.
Please.
How about this? He reached his hand down and pulled out my dick. He quickly
Madeline,
went
you know,
to giving me.
Madeline,
I just.
Madeline, I'm gonna pause your time. And you are absolutely welcome to provide whatever public comment you want. However, this is being streamed live and there are requirements. I'm giving you a chance to your time back on and your chances are my back on. I'm not objecting to
Exactly. If you don't object, I'm gonna keep reading.
I am objecting to you.
He was also definitely experienced in what he was doing, because he went to work quite confidently. He then came up and asked me if I wanted to try on him. I said, sure. I began and he said, watch your teeth. I didn't want to let him know I wasn't experienced. So I slowed down and took my time and luckily got into a good rhythm. He didn't know I was a virgin.
Madeline, again, this is, you're a pro, you're a pro. You're.
Libraries, you allow that you say is okay in the libraries for our children, you perverts, you allow this, you're a bunch of.
Bring your voice down or we will ask you to leave.
You allow this, but it's too delicate for your ears. It saddens and bewilders me as to why this board of trustees would allow pervasively vulgar books into our school libraries.
Madeline, bring your voice down. We'll ask you to respond.
About the filth in the books.
Madeline.
The books that are found in the school library shelves being checked out by
Madeline, there's no need to shout in this boardroom. You are shouting, and this is their last and final warning. It is, you will pass your time.
No,
you will continue to raise your voice. I will continue to ask you, and this is your last and final warning. Please lower your voice down.
You stop everyone.
Otherwise, I'm gonna ask the officers to check. Do you understand what I've asked you?
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I don't think you understand. I don't think you understand. Do you understand what I'm asking you to do?
I understand. Do you understand? You stop every parent and tell them that the books are inappropriate. This is a business meeting and what you're reading is inappropriate for adults to hear, but it's not inappropriate for the children. Allow me to correct you. These books are not inappropriate. They're obscene, pornographic, indecent, erotic, vulgar, disgusting, and vile. They have no place in decent society, and they certainly have no place in our schools. The books we are objecting, or these books that we object to, serve only one purpose, and that's to sexualize children. You do nothing to remove these books. You are complicit. Every one of you. You are as bad as pedophiles and predators. You are guilty of sexualizing our children. Shame on you. What happened
Get out of my
to
boardroom, please. Please get out. Please get out. Officers, can you please ask someone to leave? Please ask someone to leave. I please several times, please lower your voice. This is protocol. Ms. Childers knows, she's been to board meetings before, understands that, this is a place meeting, and we won't ask you to not come back for a while because we don't know how to lower the voice. All right, we're gonna move on to. So, Lisa Kelly, are you present? Thank you, followed by Cyrus. Ojari. Ojari.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. My name is Mercedes McKinley, and I'm a CCSD alumni and former licensed educator with the district. I left the classroom in 2021, and I want to express my support for the board to explore more ways to focus on teacher retention, as suggested earlier by public comment. However, tonight I must sound the alarm for my old elementary school. I was a student there from 1987 to 1989. And I went back to that school to work as a licensed educator from 2019
to 2021. In 2019, we had heavy rains that fall and our roof was constantly leaking with each rain event. I have video footage of this problem for any trustee that would like to review. Approximately 4 months later, a maintenance crew came by to do patchwork on the roof. That led to the team leader talking to me because he felt compelled to tell me they did the very best they could, but that roof should have been replaced over 20 years ago. Holly Hewitson Elementary was built in 1963. It is in District D and it's located at 701 North 20th Street. I visited the school today and I was appalled by what I saw. The new building, completed in approximately 2018, has not had air conditioning since last fall. This building houses multiple kindergarten, first and second grade classes, as well as the school's computer labs. It was about 90 degrees earlier this week, and it was very hot in the rooms when I was there this afternoon. So the worst part of this was not just that it was uncomfortably hot and there's tubes coming down from the ceiling, it looks disheveled, but the water fountain is also broken. I have footage of all of this that I took today. So not only do we have small children whose bodies are more vulnerable to overheating, but in addition, they don't have access to drinking water. This is absolutely unacceptable and it's dangerous. And it's really enraging for me because the school is listed as having 97% minority students. And I don't see these kinds of problems in Henderson where I live. And so it really disturbs me. And then I have just enough time that I also noticed something that concerned me when I was a resident in the area. I spoke to Olivia Diaz about dead trees and residents who couldn't afford to take care of them. There's also a dead tree on that campus that could potentially fall and cause infrastructure damage and hurt children. So I beg you, especially Brenda Zamora, I know that's your district, and trustees, to please pay attention to this issue and bring air conditioning to these children so that they can learn in a safe environment. Thank you for your time.
Cyrus, followed by Vicky Cradell.
Good evening, everyone. Cyrus Ojani. Nice remodel, by the way. I'm very concerned about these cultural trends that's being pushed by the establishment. I'm not here to necessarily criticize. I'm talking about the trends, particularly in race, which is interesting because where were these issues talked about 15 years ago? Why are we seeing all this change? It's clearly opposite that the agenda is to make us the opposite of what our society was culturally about 70 years ago. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that there's a war on European Western civilization. There's certainly a war against European Americans. You look at the incidents that happened. The multiple teenagers that killed somebody several months ago after high school, the 2 teens that ran over the biker around Centennial, the judge incident that happened in a courtroom. There's so many signs all over. And it seems that the teachings of what's going on is a war on those people. Look at the immigration that's being done at a global level. Massive numbers of non-Europeans are being pushed to European Western societies. It's designed to fundamentally radically change their societies. My great-grandmother was visiting in this country in the early 1960s from Tehran. She believed that America was a phenomenal, amazing country about 70 years ago. And there's an old saying, family knows best. And I believe in her. And I don't want us to lose our traditional culture and our values, the strong family structure, the influences, the people. And I believe that what you are doing is letting people know that European influence and their people is taboo. It should be wiped out. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but these are what the puzzle pieces tell me. And I don't believe we should wipe these people out. I mean, look, where's the demographics heading in about 50 years in 2070? What are we going to be looking like? Well, I believe we should have some level of tradition and preservations. And no, I'm not pointing out that Las Vegas should be homogenous in a certain type of people. No, I don't know who is, to be honest. I believe that it's Western values that fundamentally made this country great enough that allowed my relatives to immigrate here. And I just don't feel that Western values are cherished by the teachings that's being imposed in the school district, because that's what made the United States and other Western societies succeed. Walk down the Las Vegas Strip, Caesar's Palace, Bellagio, Paris, Excalibur, Venetian, it's all Western civilization. We should have these Western European influences in our culture and in our society. That should tell you everything you need to know. It should not be taboo. Please absorb these thoughts. Thank you.
After Vicky, we have Tim Underwood and Stephanie Kinsey.
Good evening, Vicki Cardell, reading teacher, CCSD, president of NEAF Southern Nevada. I wanted to talk about substitute teachers. As we're facing the critical shortage, our substitutes are more important than they've ever been. And we'd love to have more licensed educators, but substitutes come in and do their best. In another meeting in the state union, I was given an idea from a union colleague that instead of having just regular substitutes, that we have a category called temporary teachers. So if you're a long-term substitute and you've agreed to come in and fill a spot for a year, that you could have them be called temporary teachers, and these people would be automatically eligible to get healthcare benefits and a higher rate of pay so that schools can have some stability. So these people are committing for the year.
Forgive me, your message is very important and I would really love to hear it. Gentlemen in the audience, gentlemen up here up front, excuse me. Yes. Thank you for lowering your voice to hear from our public comment.
So I'm hoping, I know that when the bill came up last year that the district opposed the bill, but I'm hoping that we can rethink that now that we're in a different situation and think about possibly having a different category. The reality is the long-term subs are doing the same thing that the classroom teachers are doing. Their expectations and the buildings actually need them to be able to do a lot of the same work of the classroom teachers. And it's a lot. The plate is full. And maybe we could do things like provide a mentor to the long-term substitutes so that they come into the building and they have somebody at their grade level or in their content area to help them navigate all the tasks that are required of us. So that was just an idea that I heard in a statewide union meeting, and I thought that it was a good idea. The other thing I wanted to address is the HR issues with people not being able to get hired. I hear this over and over again. There are people who used to work in the district that want to come back. They cannot even get in, and they're not told why. So people don't even know why they're not getting hired. They're just not getting hired. I don't know if it's blacklisting that's still happening. Most of these people, when I asked them if they had anything on their evaluations, they had good evaluations. They left the district on good terms. So I have no idea why they're not getting through, but we really need these people in our buildings. We need to be able to hire people that want to come back. And I heard somewhere that there's around 4,000 teachers in the Las Vegas Valley that are licensed to teach that are not working in CCSD. I think we need to explore that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Underwood? Followed by Stephanie Kingsley. Stephanie, you want to come on up while we wait for Mr. Underwood? Great.
Thank you, Timothy Underwood, longtime resident. I love my transgender friends and family. I know their pain is genuine, tangible, and often dominating. And I condemn those who exploit their pain for the purposes of bitterly clinging to power. The demented and deviant President Biden and his administration are attacking the American family by radically changing the rules for Title IX, the federal law that protects women's sports from male dominance. These rule changes have our dementia patient in chief dictating anti-scientific transgender standards on American education. It would also compel politically correct speech, forcing people to use proper pronouns, or be charged with sexual harassment, an authoritarian demand if there ever was one. Recent evidence leaked by a WPATH whistleblower revealed that the World Professional Association for Transgender Health organization formulated transgender care standards for the world without any scientific experiments to rely upon. Not even a single peer-reviewed medical study. WPATH is a bogus organization that formed bogus transgender care standards that Nevada completely fell for. These new Title IX rules strip school children of their human dignity and destroy K-12 and collegiate girls and women's sports. This great lie about human sexuality that the rule changes represent will lead to physical harm, mental and emotional trauma, and even to the death of our school children. The responsible adults in Clark County will hold any public official or school administrator to account if a single policy is altered due to these outrageous rule changes. An errant trustee or assistant administrator who fails to defend our daughters from transgender madness will face the political wrath of the electorate, 70% of whom despise the radical politics of progressive Democrats. Any such person will receive the Jesus hit and run Hera treatment. Your loyalty belongs to your constituents, not distant outsiders in Washington, D.C. You will see the rule changes to Title IX and you will do nothing.
Stephanie Kinsley. Followed by Grace Trujillo and Lorena.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Kinsley. I'm one of the mothers from My Children's Advocate. I've listened to everyone speak today. It really just, I have questions of just why. As you guys know, we've been coming here for years since COVID was kicking off, and your nonsensical policies you were allowing then. And there was no pushback to the governor or superintendent didn't push back, even though he had a degree in biology. And it was just complete nonsense. And I noticed there was a common denominator of like Democrats supporting it. So I'm trying to figure out as a mom, I know you're upset and call me out that I put my kids in private school so they shouldn't be allowed to be here, but I do care about all the kids. So I'm concerned when kids don't go to school and get told a mask is going to prevent them from a virus. How mentally incompetent do you have to be to think of a mask will stop a virus? Like, it's such a level of mental incompetence that it questions, like, how did you drive here today? It's so backward science. And it's those same people who lack science, who say that, who break up test scores by race results. Again, what science is that? Where those same race results match up to single mother households. Yet we're not telling kids that, I wish we would tell young girls at school how important their chastity is, not to get pregnant, to be without being in a committed marriage. But instead we tell them they can abort their baby and be happy about it. As a 43-year-old woman, every woman I know, except a handful of Looney Tune liberals who talk about it like it's flossing their teeth. For the most part, women are destroyed physically, mentally, and emotionally by their abortion. Yet you push it. It's the most nonsensical. Kids are graduating not knowing how to read or do math, but they know that boys can be girls. And I want to talk on that. Why is there no pushback on the lack of science it takes to know that boys can never be girls? Yet we see that these trans kids are mostly autistic kids from single mother households with liberal parents who are using their kids like Gypsy Rose. Like, why are we allowing children to be abused? We're being told there's a big boogeyman if you're not the right color. We're being told you're in the wrong body. And then the people just saying love the kids and leave them alone are the ones being called domestic terrorists. Could any one of you back up your stance on any of these nonsensical topics? Because you guys have more degrees than I do. I don't have a single degree, but I have observable reality. Aren't you embarrassed? Aren't you? There used to be a time people had shame, and I miss those things.
Grace? Your preference?
I thank you for letting me talk today. Today, I stand before you to address a topic of utmost importance, the freedom to read and the role of literature in shaping the minds of our children. Americans cherish our First Amendment rights, freedom of speech and expression. Our commitment to these principles extends to the written word, and we must ensure that our children have access to the diverse range of books and ideas. America does not ban books, as contrary to what people have been saying. We pride ourselves on being a society that values intellectual curiosity, critical thinking, open dialogue. Our libraries and bookstores are filled with various literary works. These books serve as a windows into different worlds, perspectives, and cultures. They ignite our imaginations, challenge our assumptions, and broaden our horizon. However, we must tread carefully when it comes to children's literature. Our young readers are impressionable, and the stories they encounter can shape their understanding of the world. As parents, educators, and guardians, we guide them toward age-appropriate content that fosters empathy, resilience, and love for learning. I would recommend censorship is like cinemas, like when we watch movies. We should focus on providing children with rich literary diet that encourages critical thinking, emotional intelligence. Here are the key points. Age-appropriate content. Children books comes in various age, emotional ranges, and we must ensure that the content aligns with their cognitive emotional development. While some topics may be suitable for older readers, they might be confusing or distressing for younger ones. Diverse perspectives. Children's literature should reflect the diversity of our society. It should include characters from different backgrounds, cultures, abilities, and experiences. Example, the Bible. Children learn empathy and tolerance when they encounter characters who look and think felt differently from themselves. Challenging themes. Some children books address complex themes such as loss, prejudice, or social justice. These topics are essential for fostering thinking and should be presented sensitively and age appropriately. Avoid harmful adult literature. Pervasively vulgar literature that does not foster cognitive learning, which prematurely sexualize young developing minds and early exposure leads to pornography addiction and unhealthy sexual dysfunction. I have some topics from the research institutes. I have 3, I can give it to you. It says early exposure to pornography and unregulated excess exposure to pornography during formative years has been seen to have various long-term deleterious effects on sexual maturation. I could go on, but I can tell you, you're being put here in this position, and I hope you will be in your legacy that you're part of the lowest part of Nevada when it comes to education.
Thank you. Just to clarify, we are the lowest in the state of Nevada, lowest in academic funding for people. What that is, I'll speak to those. But wanted to clarify that it is not a specific to academics. Lorena, welcome.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lorena Biasotti. I am Vice Chair of Moss Delivery. I am also a candidate for School Board District E. Thankfully, Lola Brooks is not running again. I wanted to mention, just to touch up on what you said, since 2017, the per pupil salary has gone up 70%, and the education has nosedived. So yes, they are well funded per pupil. You receive 11.6 thousand, and it used to be 6.5. So it's 70% higher. Another thing I wanted to discuss with the teacher that was here earlier, with the billions of borrowed signed for our school, I think the health of our students should be prioritized, and that needs to be addressed. The story you heard from the mom before me, Bethany, I believe, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of stories like that one. Children who are drowning in the district's indifference. That's the reason I'm running, because the safety of our children is being put last, and while we focus on new and diverse policies to implement. Also, on a side note, I wanted to discuss a reaction from the moms you saw here. is because one of the emails are being returned from the schools from librarians who are quick to identify their pronouns and to say that they are not removing the books that you heard here. Those pages that were read out loud to you are still in the schools and they refuse to take them out. So the outrage you're seeing is exactly because of that. I also wanted to discuss a fight in Rancho High School that was on the news today. As a school board member, I would be scrambling to get to the bottom of it. I would be reaching for that teacher's records and the students' records because of the restorative policies you're implementing. You're creating a very dangerous environment of violence. And regarding the progressive sex ed, which CCSD is notorious for, I wanted to discuss the controversy that, because it's always been our concern as parents that progressive sex ed introduces inappropriate material that normalizes active sex lives. And we're talking about children. We rather create an environment of caution around it than an environment that awakens their curiosity to explore sexuality and ends up corrupting our children. I wanted to read very quickly from the nationalreview.com. It says, when sex ed becomes a means to incorporate hyper-progressive views on gender, sex, and behavior, it ceases to be neutral material necessary for development. As hilarious as what I'm saying might be, I'm not sure why that's funny, but anyway, whether you agree or disagree with those premises, the fact is that they're controversial. Adults should lead children to develop in whatever, no, this is what you believe and this is what your sex ed curriculum teaches, and that children should develop in whatever way they please. And the gender dichotomy is an arbitrary concept. Neither of this is scientific or universally accepted. So as inclusive and as welcoming as you want to be with the gender ideology, the truth is that you can't deny science and biology. You just can't. As much as you can't deny that gravity exists. And, gravity is unfair because we can't fly like birds and, whatever. Well, those are the laws of gravity. Those are the laws of physics. There's also the laws of biology that dictate there are two genders, men and women. And no matter what you try to implement to change that, it's not going to change. But that's why we need common sense as parents in the classroom. Thank you. Good night.
That concludes public comments. Colleagues, we're going to move on to item 5.01. That's the upcoming meeting of the Board of Trustees, Wednesday, May 1st, 4 p.m. here in the boardroom. Colleagues, I'm seeking a motion to adjourn. Trustee Carrasco.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Colleagues, are we looking at Trustee Zamora?
Thank you, Madam President. I'll make the second motion.
Thank you, Trustee Zamora. Colleagues, we have a motion by Trustee Galapagos and a second by Trustee Zamora. Please cast your vote.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, colleagues, that motion passes 7-0. Thank you very much. The time is 6:41 p.m.
Wow.